Creo que ya, iniciando misión. Ajá.
Pero avísanos.
David, ¿puedes confirmar?
Nada.
Franco.
Ahora que tiene el delay, no se te ve el YouTube.
A mí se me ve.
¿Ya? Sí, ahora sí.
Sí, ya, ok.
Ahora sí.
Ok.
Okay. So good morning, everyone, to the people in Mexico, Venezuela, and the U.S., and good evening to the ones in China and Korea. As you know, I'm Franco Micucci, and with me we have William Diaz, who's a community leader from La Palomera and the town of Baruta, who's been joining us in a good portion of the tour. Isabel Mieres, who's one of our teaching assistants, and Andrea Hernandez, who's the one with the phone right now, so she won't be able to be on screen. Okay, as you know, we're gonna be transmitting on live on YouTube, so you'll basically are able to make questions on the chat on YouTube, and Silvia and Andrea are gonna be managing the questions, and eventually we will stop and answer and make comments. So in order to begin, we're gonna show you the town of Baruta, which is the central urban space of the area, which is actually a town that is already 400 years old. We're actually in the back, you have the main church of the town, which is a colonial church from 1655. And the town itself is already 400 years old. And here we have like the church, the municipality, which is the town hall, Plaza Bolivar, which is the most important plaza of the town. It used to be like the central square of the town. At the end of the 19th century, the old central plazas in Venezuela became dedicated to Simon Bolivar, who is our most important historic leader. And in fact, it became a garden, not a plaza, a dry plaza, as it used to be, that was more flexible. Now it is a garden for the town. And basically in the back, we have La Palomera, which is the most important barrio here. You also have another barrio to the left, we will see at the end. And basically, we're going to take a tour, as you see in the map. So I'm going to go straight to the barrio and then come down, okay? In the back, you'll see also one of the most important schools, Escuela Miguel José Sanz School, which is actually supposed to begin classes probably next week, even though we're going through pandemic. Y bueno, he's Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption. Some points we may have trouble with the internet, so you may have a pause like right now, but there's no problem. You basically will reconnect and we'll follow you, okay? Brilliant. Buenos días. So as you see, this is one of the entrances to Barrio La Palomera, which is on the end of the street that comes from the plaza. And basically, most of the entrances to the barrio are like this, are like small plazas, in which basically you'll have stairways to go up. Basically, there are places for transfer, even for the garbage. Even though the municipality has been incorporating a system in which there are collectors for the trash in the barrio that will go house by house and they bring the trash to the place at the bottom. So basically to avoid the accumulation of garbage at the entrance of the barrio, that used to be a major problem here. As you see, densification here is actually larger, as I told you before. Most of the residential activity in the area is actually in the back, in the barrio. The town itself, if I go back in this direction, is mostly like that. Basically, you have commercial and institutional activities. Okay, so let's go on. Most of the houses will have a transitional space in order to enter to the house, where you get this flat surface in which you can enter the unit. And basically, you have units that have different levels, as you see here. And basically, you get a view to the center of town and the other side of the hill, with the other system of barrios on the other side. Okay. Okay, here you'll see this is the typical solution for the stairway, in which we have a place for the water, for the drainage of the rain. And basically, it actually covers even the infrastructure, let's say the sewage and even the water, the clean water that comes from the family. Perdón, disculpe. So these guys are actually collecting the garbage house from house to house. They basically take it down in order to avoid, as I told you before, the accumulation of the trash. Okay. William. Gracias. So basically, the other important thing is that most of these stairways, they become gathering places. So people will be sitting, talking here, and we're going to go through a horizontal alleyway, which is this one. It's called a sequia. It used to be a place to collect water horizontally. Basically, behind this wall, you have the slope of the houses from the town, and this is actually the beginning of the barrio. In fact, most of the level of the houses are actually higher up. So basically, this is sort of a retaining wall for the land, for the site. Basically, as you see here, you will go up. Basically, each house will have a gateway like this, and here you'll enter to a system of different units that are somehow working as a community. Okay. As you can see here, most of the houses will be up to 3-4 levels in average. In some cases, they're lower than that. In some other cases, are higher than that. Here you will see another system, another solution of the typology of, okay. Now we're reaching point 2 in the map, which is basically, okay. Basically, we're in our way to point number 2. Here, this, for instance, is a site where there used to be a house. It suffered, obviously, from movement on the terrain. Basically, it was abandoned. Basically, these spaces are also part of the opportunities you'll find in barrios like this, where there is places that could be recovered for specific community uses. And we'll see some examples later on. Okay. You see what they have to do in order to access some of the houses. They'll take a portion of the public space in order to connect to the main grid. Okay, here we have another view, which is very important. Here you'll see the town at the bottom, and you'll see the other barrio, Placer de Maria, which is the other neighborhood. It used to be more or less from the same time as La Palomera, but it's on the other side of the town. They're basically the same kind of urban typology. Here, the only thing you have additionally to the other entrance is this sort of gateway arch that you see in the back. It used to somehow establish a certain limit to the entrance of the barrio. For some people, this is very controversial because it defines a division between what is formal and informal, and needs to be prejudiced, probably. So this is a discussion we could have later on. Estamos hablando de que los arcos, en algún sentido, eran como un motivo de debate un tiempo, William, ¿verdad? Porque no sé si quieres comentar algo sobre los arcos, de qué época eran. En español.
Ese arco lo puso la Junta Parroquial Genoveva. hace muchos años, para el colonial de Baruta.
Okay.
Y población como están rodando mucho, quitaron 3 arcos aquí en la 1, 2, 3, Copacabana, Giraldo y esquina del Cine, y quedó nada más el correo.
Okay, he's saying that these arches were actually established by council members from the municipality probably 30 years ago, and basically they will define entrances at the different stairways of the town. 2 of them were actually demolished, and this is the only one that is left. Okay, so gracias, William. So we're gonna go on this way. Here you have another stairway. As you see, they don't have continuity, so they basically become private at some point, but they could expand. They could go even higher, up to probably 8 stories high if you continue going through the houses in the back. Okay. Here you have electricity. As you see, you have power lines here with public lighting, and basically you have sewage. In general, most of these houses will have connection to a regular sewage system, since it's an old, somehow antique area. Que no se escucha bien. Okay. 1 second, we'll be connecting the microphone, but it's not easy to talk, walk, and use a mask. Okay. I'm sorry. I hope you can hear me well. If any one of you can actually give us a sign, we'll be somehow connecting through WhatsApp as well. Okay, and I'm gonna go slower, okay? Because you may have delays since our internet quality is not that good, okay? So behind this wall, you'll find an important community center that is actually handled by William. It's called La Casa de Todos, the houses of everyone, the house of all. This is actually point number 2, and it is the beginning or the end of one of the most important stairways. Here was actually recovered a few time ago, but by the municipality and a non-governmental organization in order to create some kind of infrastructure to make it easier for pedestrians, obviously, and to create sort of spaces to the bottom, but also to the back. As you see here, disculpe, buenos días, ¿cómo están? Permiso. So the solutions for the stairways in this case is actually on zigzag in order to somehow reach the level that it's supposed to get, but without going straight. So it makes it easier to people to go through, but also somehow allowing water to go through the canals, the channels that you have on the left, as you see in the image. Okay. William, ¿algún comentario acá? No, vamos a la caseta. ¿Ah? Ok. Cuéntanos, ¿este techo es para qué, William? ¿Es una parada, este techito? Okay, okay. So it's actually a stop for people when it's actually raining. So if if you lose your breath or something, you can actually stay here in case it's raining or something. Okay. Okay, and the motorcycles as well. Remember, the motorcycles are very important mean of transportation in the barrios. In fact, in some cases, you may not have access with the car, but you could have pretty much access with a motorcycle everywhere in the barrio, okay? Through alleyways. Here you can see the motorcycles. Actually, pretty much everywhere there is a surface, not staircases, as is the case right now, okay? These are some of the houses that are probably in better conditions, and they're actually probably not built informally. They were part of the expansion of the town, probably during the 1940s. Basically, it used to be sort of a peripheral suburban house solution with balconies and terraces as well. But they were actually integrated to the community. So now it's very difficult to find a boundary or a limit between the formal and informal zone because they're actually pretty much integrated. Here you see, this is pretty much what happens here, which is the back of a structure that is actually facing the main street of the colonial town. And it has actually a backside, a backyard that has been occupied that will have access. Most have tenants, property documents in a way. They were actually by the municipality. Since the terrain right now, as you see, it actually grows natural plants because humidity is a very important issue here. I mean, basically, green elements will grow pretty much everywhere. Balconies, windows, walls, everywhere, as you see here. Here you see more or less the way it actually grows and it goes up. For instance, here, this is actually the place up to the point in which the car can actually enter in order to deliver merchandises or anything, okay? At some point, it used to be for garbage, but right now, garbage, it only works up to the lower point of the barrio where the containers are. And people actually use this for parking. In general, some of these barrios will have the necessity for parking spaces as well, because there's few public spaces, but in some cases they'll be occupied by cars, which is something that happens pretty much in every barrio in Caracas. Here you see the relationship between the lower portion of the informal sector versus the formal sector and the kind of density you get. And on the other side of the view, the hill, is the other barrio, Placer de María. Buenos días. Okay. Buenos días. Ok, vamos para allá. Ok. Vas a tener sol de frente, lo malo, ¿viste? Sí. No sé si es mejor por acá al lado. Sí, se arma, porque tenemos los carros. Okay, sorry. So basically here you see more or less, this street is probably more residential than the other one, since it's actually far away from the plaza. Basically you have structures like this, where the old colonial houses have been transformed into more modern structures with terraces. These are actually grapes on top that actually grow as a terrace. And you'll see in the back some traditional houses from, let's say, the colonial times, which are the few ones probably that are kept, which is actually the pink one or the green one here. Traffic is an issue here, even though you cannot make it pedestrian right now. With the pandemic, some of the streets have been blocked to traffic, so people can actually walk safely. And eventually, we'll see an opportunity for that in that sense, in order to avoid and to allow pedestrians to be the main actors of the area. See. Okay. Right now, we're on point or spot number 2, as you have it in your map. This is actually a view of the community center, La Casa de Todos, the house of everyone, or house of all, with the barrio in the back. If we move a little bit on this direction, you will see again the stairways that we saw before, that's been renovated recently. And William is actually in charge of La Casa de Todos, so it's going to show us inside the community center, and you'll see some of the residential buildings adjacent to it that somehow are proving the scale of the town, the new scale of town. Here you have another view of the barrio, the top. Sí, pues bueno. The way these structures actually same time. So House of the Toast, for everyone, original structure that was renovated in the 90s. We're gonna go inside. Is the connection okay? Okay, podemos ver el patio por dónde vamos. Okay. So it is actually a community center where people will do children activity. Oh, that's a view actually. That's a photograph of the place. Probably it's actually from the beginning of the century, as you see here to the left. It used to be a bull meat market somehow. And this is actually a view of the town with some mudslides, and the barrio is actually here in the back. So basically what happened there is that there were, heavy process of rain, and basically mudslides will come down to the town. And basically the barrio, once took over the side, basically became a retaining wall for that. So it didn't happen anymore. Basically you have small points of risk within the barrio, but in general, these kind of situations will not happen that often anymore, okay? Well, David could talk all about that later on. So we're gonna go. So basically, as I said before, this place is actually used for community activities for the children, for the elders as well. So we're not gonna go to the garden of the house quickly. Gracias, William, vente. So William is sort of a gardener. So basically what you're gonna see is a sort of community garden that people use to grow elements. And it's actually a project where people want to restore somehow a space that is part of the history of the town. So it's sort of an abandoned structure that plans to be restored. Basically, you have here corn. This is actually passion fruit, I think, parchita, that actually grows on the structure and becomes a space for the people where they actually have cultural activities. We have an entrance here from the barrio up there, and here from the stairway, and then from the bottom, the entrance that we took before. This is just an example. William, ¿quieres comentar algo de este espacio, por favor?
Este espacio de la alcaldía.
Okay, it's an official space from the municipality that was given for the people.
Este espacio y están programando para hacer algo para los niños.
So it's been proposed as a space for the children and for the elders as well. So it become a space for, somehow sensibilize people about the garden, the importance of greenery in communities like this. There is more than, 200 species that are autochthonous from this site. And there's actually a study by Professor Elisa Silva, who will be having a lecture with us, explaining the kind of research they've done about these species in the barrio. As you see here, you have even herbs that are part of the culinary tradition, tomatoes, or even some other elements, onions or stuff like that, okay? So thank you. Let's move on. We're gonna take a break or not? Could we take a break quickly? So William, vamos, gracias. I'm sorry about the speed, but this is sort of a long journey. So we have to move. Andrea, ¿tú vas por ahí? Es por aquí. Sí, sí. ¿Quiere me desconecto un segundo? Porque aquí no debería hablar.
Ya.
Vamos a esperar. So we're gonna wait for William to say goodbye and to continue our tour to La Palomera. To La Palomera, we're gonna take the car in order to go up to the high point of the barrio. Since we cannot walk all the way up, we're gonna take a car to go to point number 3, okay? As you see in the map. So William. Buenos días, ¿cómo está? One of the things that is important here is that you'll have a sense of community. Everybody will say hi, hello. You know, whenever you have these density conditions, you know, there is always a need for interaction. People will be saying hi or, okay. Si quieres, tomas al revés para que estemos aquí abajo y así podemos ver un poco the activity in the back. You'll see the aquella. ¿Cuál es mejor? No, pero aquella llega a la alcaldía, aquella no. No, aquella es mejor. Vamos por aquella. Are you connected? Yes. Okay. Now we're going back to Plaza Bolívar, which is the main plaza of the town. And basically we'll take the car to go up to Barrio La Palomera. No, pero aquella llega a la alcaldía, aquella no. No, aquella es mejor. Vamos por aquella. Buenos días. Are you connected? So this is, yes, okay. Now we're going back to Plaza Bolívar, which is the main plaza of the town. Buenos días. Sí. Bueno, pero también importante, sort of the gateway to the barrio, and to the back you'll see Plaza Bolívar with the town hall building. It's sort of a more suburban structures from the 1940s. Market activities are very common here on the public spaces. So you have places for Plaza Bolívar with the town hall building. Hay un delay. Hay un delay.
Hay un delay más o menos.
Ok. Tenemos que hacer pausa. Market activities are very common here on the public spaces. So you have... Okay. Now we're back to point number 1, okay, which is Plaza Bolívar. As you see, this is a place for gathering, you know, people, especially the older people. It's also a place for public transportation in order to connect from the town to many other places in Caracas, and not only the municipality. So the town itself became a hub for transportation in a way. You'll see that later on. You see, this is a place for gathering, you know, people, especially the older people. It's also a place for public transportation in order to connect from the town to many other places in Caracas, and not only the municipality. So the town itself became a hub for transportation in a way. You'll see that later on. You see, it's a place for gathering. Si quieres, gira un poquito. Gira un poquito. Gira. Buenos días. Buenos días. So this is Plaza El Cristo, which is another public space. No tengo mucho. Buenos días. Yeah. This is Plaza El Cristo, which is another public space. Okay. Sí, ya lo repito. William, tú no vienes con nosotros para arriba. Okay. So we're going to say goodbye to William. He's going to leave us here. So we're going to go on our own with the car to the top of the barrio. Gracias, William. Buen día.
Gracias,
Okay,
William.
muy amable. So, thank you.
Gracias.
Ahí está.
Ok. Sí, ya lo repito. William, tú no vienes con nosotros para arriba. So we're gonna say goodbye to William. Sí. Ya. With the car to the top of the valley. Gracias, William. Buen día. Ok, muy amable.
¿Quieres agarrarla? Sí. Recuerda que cuando se te necesite quitar el modo avión y volverlo.
¿Quieres interrumpir? So we're still on point number 2. Going to point number 3. So we're gonna go quickly by car. I have to cross here, I think.
Sí, sí.
Okay. So in the periphery of town, you'll find sort of industrial structures that have been transformed into commercial places, even marketplaces like the one you see in the back. Here I have to make a left. Sí, ¿verdad? Aquí a la izquierda. ¿Sí? ¿Seguro?
Sí, porque llegamos así para allá.
So this is the spot in which we left the barrio before. So quickly around here. So as you see, the topography begins to go up slowly. And in fact, this is the most important vehicular access to the upper part of the barrio. And here you'll have a good view of the density of the neighborhood in relationship to the barrio in the back, which is mostly pedestrian from here to the top. Unless you go around, as you see in the map, through the red line that indicates the route of the tour. Some of the spaces that are empty, basically because they're not stable in general. As you see, there's always a construction process going on everywhere. It's either one level, 2 levels. So basically the important thing is that houses are never finished. So they basically become multifamily units. And here to the right, basically you have green spaces that will be in between the formal city and the informal sector. In some cases you have some agricultural activity here, even some business like a wood shop. This is the kind of terraces you make on the slope in order to build the houses. Go quickly because internet is quite slow here. I'm sorry. What's up? Okay. No. Here to the right, you'll see some residential buildings that actually have access from the same road, which are actually indicated in the map as well, probably. We're actually going through this border of the barrio. To the right, you'll have an amazing view of the general area, but we're gonna stop. Should we stop here? Yes. Okay. But it'd be better if I park here or something. Gonna jump in here quickly.
This is the stop number 3.
Okay, so this is actually stop number 3. I don't know if you can hear me well. I'm gonna go slowly. So it is actually a sort of belvedere. It's actually a limit or a border of the barrio. Basically here, the topography is quite strong, difficult. Basically here you'll see how steep the topography is. So you actually go down. Here you have the formal neighborhood down here, Barrio de Picapiedras, which is the Flintstones barrio, Barrio Hoyo de Agua in the back, which is the one to the left. The towers are actually called Montepino, and Barrio Monterrey is actually behind that. Urbanización El del Placer is actually the tallest or the highest neighborhood on the hill. Basically, Misión Vivienda, which is the social housing project, is actually here to the right. It's actually the brick buildings that are 4 stories high, and basically the pine trees, bosque, that are actually the protective zones, as well as the hill, which is actually like sort of a park for the city where the antennas are. It's actually one of the highest peaks in the area. And basically to the left, you have the area of La Trinidad. That used to be a satellite city, sort of a peripheral city center that now has become a new centrality connected to another municipality, which is El Hatillo, okay? You will understand that on a general map. And this space right here was actually recovered by some group of architects and students from Universidad Simón Bolívar as part of the process of creating public spaces where people used to collect trash. It used to be a place for trash, and now it's become a place for the children, even though we have a problem of parking here, which is typical in this area. So we're gonna walk, or should we? So we're gonna go all the way to the top with the car, but we're gonna make 3 or 4 stops in between, which are Ojo de Agua, Los Picapiedras, Ojo de Agua, Monterrey, La Limonera, El Placer, and then Universidad Simón Bolívar. Okay, so let's go on. So the facades of the barrio here are probably less dense because it's more horizontal. This is sort of the peak of the barrio, the top part of the topography. And you begin to go down. All this side is not the, as I said, because of the topographical conditions. As you can see here, let's move on this direction. Basically, this is the area barrio with the road for the que sigo para abajo, ¿verdad?
Sí, sí, el micrófono
Para dar la vuelta.
hay que dar la vuelta, o sea, hay que seguir abajo, pero para dar la vuelta.
But it doesn't go all the way. So basically it becomes pedestrian at some point. called Calle Ciega in Spanish. Dead end. Pero nos vamos a parar en la curvita para ver el pueblo, ¿verdad? Ok. Si acaso se bajan ustedes y yo no me bajo, para que sea más rápido. So here you have a panoramical view where you see the National Park El Ávila, the mountain in the back, and the city of Caracas, basically from here. But we're gonna stop quickly. So tú si quieres conectar el micrófono.
This is one of the views. We apologize if we're going too fast, but it's an extensive route to go all the way to university and the end of the tour. So eventually we are shooting a video of the area that will be available for all of us. So you can have it and basically check it out with high definition, since phone videos are not that good, okay? So basically we're, again, at the bottom of this area, the town Baruta, with some of the industrial activities. Remember that around town, basically during the 1940s and 50s, it all became industrial. So we're basically gonna see a good portion of it in order to understand, the places that will be attractors for people to move from the countryside to the city of Caracas in order to find better job opportunities. So as you see here, people come with a truck and will drop the garbage from the upper part of town. So it'll be collected by the truck. So this is a major issue in all barrios in Venezuela. So we're still on the line, wherever is straight. parallel to Plaza Bolivar, the main square. And we are going to cross the main street of the town. This is again Casa de Todos, where we were before. Here you have to go really slow because there's not enough space for pedestrian. So, and in fact, it should be mostly pedestrian. Basically, the cars are the problem here, but it's also a necessity. So the main street of the town is actually sort of the bus terminal where people will do interchanges or interfaces from, let's say, the jeeps, which are the basic transportation system that go up to the hills, to the buses that will take you to other places. Etc. Because up there, there's very little services and everything will be more expensive if you find it there. Ok, aquí sí puedes. Tú haces una toma a la izquierda. So this is the main street of the town. It's actually a place where people will take the buses to go everywhere around town. And to the right will be the route that will take to go to university. Okay, we're gonna go across the eastern portion of the town where you'll see some kind of social housing projects from the 1970s, you know, really tall structures in the back. You can see that. Okay. So we're basically leaving the old part of town. This used to be sort of the road that will connect to the agricultural valley with sugarcane plantations and coffee plantations, where actually the basic of the economy here. To the left, you have the municipal cemetery. It is the old cemetery of the town. It used to be on the periphery of the Baruta town, which is actually the green wall to the left. And basically here, you'll find most of the industrial zone that began to be developed in the 1950s. Now it's mostly commercial, light industrial activities. It's not heavy industry. It is still fairly active, and it actually creates jobs within this area. So it's, as you see, lower structures. Streets become wider here, obviously, because of the truck access. And obviously you have always the hills around us. Since this is a valley as well, Valle La Trinidad is the name of this hacienda. So as part of that process of the satellite city, you'll have some housing projects from the 1960s to the right, and then you'll have some private development to the left. And here, the green thing is actually the creek, Quebrada La Guairita. You will see it to the right. I'm gonna stop quickly here. This is actually a water course. It's the most important river of the area that comes all the way from the hills up on the mountains and goes all the way along the valley to the rest of the city and goes all the way to the main river, the Hoyo River. So I'm gonna go across this area, which is sort of a civic center with sport activities, with baseball field, soccer field, public pools from the 1970s. It's actually a residential zone, basically private development. It used to be part of this satellite city that used to be residential, single family homes, but at some point density also began to be incorporated here. We are on the gray zone in the map, which is actually La Trinidad, sector La Trinidad, or area La Trinidad. Okay, we're gonna go to light blue area, which is Piedra Azul. It is another formal sector. This is Quebrada La Guairita, again to the left. Basically, you'll see how water actually falls into the river. This is actually the end of an important highway here, Autopista Prados del Este, that you will see in a larger scale map. It didn't used to exist, this extension here. This was built in the 1980s, actually, as an extension of the highway in order to go all the way to the university. And it became a new front for the town. Basically here you'll have the residential towers, and here to the right where the trees are, there is another water creek that comes all the way to the river, to right here. This spot here, it is actually the end of Quebrada Manzanares, another water course that goes all the way here. Okay, so left is actually people in their cars scared because it's the landscape in the city. This is mostly industrial of the town, and then it became the front way was built. In fact, you'll find here the municipal police, sort of a marketplace for the city as well. That happens on the streets. There are many markets, places like this around town, since it's very dense and active. And this is a major transportation spot to go to the university as well, okay? Basically, we're entering Piedra Azul, which is a light blue sector in the map, I think. And the road to the right will link again to the town, to the center of town, okay? If you follow the red line in the map, we are basically on the light blue area. Okay, now, okay, we're reaching points number 4 and number 5. Basically, all the constructions to the left are new constructions that were built after the river was actually covered, okay? So basically, those portions of the land were habilitated for urban development and it became commercial areas, a clinic as well for the area. There's no sidewalks, as you can see. It still keeps the condition of a peripheral road. Even though it's been, okay, it's still flat. As you see, they have gateways to the right. You see the blue gate because of safety situations in general. And here you see the entrances to the barrios. Okay, now we're gonna show you another water course to the right, right here where the green space is actually a water course that comes all the way from the hills. It's actually polluted, but it's not that bad. So I'm gonna go to the right. It's actually a curve on the map. the other side. I think, okay. What do I do here? Yeah. El señor va a entrar. Tiene que meterse. Él va a echar retroceso. Okay, gracias. Okay, we're on the yellow sector, going to point 5, where the 2 black bars are indicated as one of the stops. So right now we're gonna cross the main road in order to enter Hoyo de Agua, which is one of the largest barrios in the area, as you see to the right. It actually, like Hoyo de Agua means the place where our fountain actually happens. So public space for a market facility behind that, and basically the houses will jump all the to the main road, which is, so this is the main, we're actually on point number. So we're going to have activity and the dynamic of this neighborhood. It's actually a wide road, but a good portion of it is taken by parking and services. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're gonna go to point number 4. As you see, we have houses to the right and green spaces to the left that have not been developed, but they're potentially sensitive places to be occupied in a way, even though they could be private property in terms of the land, okay? Okay, in the map, you'll see the blank space to the north of the red line is actually all the green spaces that you'll see, where the topography is actually quite difficult. As you see, you'll find cuts on the topography like this. We have to go slowly here, but we have a car here, but you'll see more or less the density. Okay, we'll see it later on. Pero la estamos de regreso, creo que es lo que habíamos dicho. O si quieres pararte aquí, te dejo que te baje. Ok. No. Desconecta. Yo espero aquí. Vale.
Right now, this is the stop number 4 in the map. You can see the towers. Okay.
We're basically on, okay. spot G, dijiste?
F and G.
Between F and G. Here you have the barrio on the other side of the road. As you can see, it actually stops here for some reason, okay? But it could be expanded, obviously, because the topography is pretty much the same, okay? Okay, basically on spot G, indicated as G as God, is actually where the place where you have barrio on both sides. In fact, you even have some roads in order to connect to the upper portion of the site. Aquí ya la podemos dar. So we're gonna go back some point. Aquí. Fue aquí donde la dimos, sí. Ok, entonces la doy aquí. Ahí tiene algo que atravesado. So we're on the same route, the red line, but going down now, okay? From number 4 to number 5. We're not gonna take this one, but maybe you can take a look to this small road here, which is actually perpendicular to the red line. And we will stop. Okay. So as you see here, the lots to the right are actually pretty sensitive to new development. Here, you'll have another impressive view of the density of the barrio. Basically, for instance, that structure that you see in the back will have 4 levels up from the main road. I will have up to 8 stories below that in order to connect to the barrio at the bottom. And it's actually a structure that is being built for the last year, mostly. Here you have some agricultural activities on the hills. So it actually means that someone is actually taking care of the land there, probably having special conditions since they do some agricultural activity. They're legally protected. As you see, they have banana trees, they have corn, and it actually means there is agricultural activity, so they become tenants of the lot in a way. But that could become an expansive process in which a family could be subdivided. So basically, you could have a community in less than 5 years easily living there. Point number 4, I don't know if we want to get off here. Oh, no? Okay. So our point number 4, and we're going to make a right here. No. No, los galpones no son aquí. Okay. So here what is good is that you see the barrio, los Picapiedra, the Flintstones, and the social housing project above that, okay? And the other residential neighborhood on the top. Of amount of trash they'll have, especially because the ravines are from the upper parts to the bottom. So the bottoms will get somehow blocked by the trash. To the right, you'll have a typical playground that we'll have in our barrios. It's called Cancha de Bolas Criollas. It's where you play actually balls. How do you call it? Billiard. Biliardi in Italiano, billiards. It's actually play balls, wood balls, knocking balls, actually. It actually is made with tires from a car. Ok, bueno. Ok, este señor va caminando. Yo no estaba viendo el chat, así que no me entero de nada. Pero bueno, ustedes me dirán si están avisando algo. Ok.
No, pero camino al 5 y ahí nos vamos a dirigir hacia una calle perpendicular a la que vamos.
¿No es aquí donde voy a cruzar?
Sí.
Sí. So I'm gonna make a right here in order. No. Si no puedes ver el mapa. No hay manera de ver el mapa para ver dónde estamos. No, yo creo que es aquí. Sí, es aquí. Sí, pero el mapa se tiene que ver. Eso sí. Ahí. Ok. Ok. Bueno, vamos. Right to this linear street that's going up, where you have domestic gas for cooking. It's actually located here. So basically, you have some industrial activities, but basically, you have green spaces to the right. They're basically sensitive areas for new development. This is the condition of the infrastructure here. And basically, you have a creek to the right. It's actually in between the road and the hill on the other side. We may lose connection here, but we'll stop quickly and then go back. Aquí arriba. So we're gonna go back. So basically it's all forest here. There's no major development here, even though the road goes up, so it continues. And you will see again, Barrio Hoyo de Agua to the back, and its connection with Monterrey and Montepino, the other two areas adjacent to Barrio Hoyo de Agua, which is the gray one, the yellow color. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Go slowly. I'm sorry. This is the kind of transportation systems you'll get. So we're going in our way to stop number 5, where the sport field is, and we're gonna get off there quickly. So we'll have a break for questions and comments. Please, Silvia and David, if you can take into account the questions so we can actually hear from you. Basically, you could answer because you know the site as well as we do. So there's the Barrio Hoyo de Agua, and the line in the back is actually the main road to go to university. Okay. Escucho un ruido. Escucho una bomba cuando. Ok. O nos paramos aquí. Es que allá me preocupa que. Sí, vamos a pararnos aquí. Un segundito. Vamos a montarnos por aquí. Buenos días. Hola, buenos días. So this is like the intersection of the main pedestrian street of Barrio Hoyo de Agua with the main road, which is the red line. It actually is an important spot. You know, it's a sport facility. Basically, it's like a centrality, the entrance of the barrio. So we may take a look here. Hola, buenos días. So the main pedestrian street of the barrio is actually on top of a water course that was actually covered, I think in the 1970s probably. So once the water course was actually covered, it became the main street, and the houses are actually facing this main street. So they have two sides, one front to the vehicular street and the other one to the back, which became the new front, and it actually ends here on the sport facility in the back. Okay, so let's go back. Hasta luego. Perdón. Si quieres me desconecto. ¿Quieres que nos paremos para contestar preguntas aquí?
El break de 15 minutos.
¿Pero lo hacemos aquí o dónde lo quieres hacer?
Yo creo que está
En la bomba.
como más.
La bomba va a estar complicada porque está la guardia por lo de la gasolina. Entonces nos quedamos aquí una vez. O bueno, déjame ver si abajo nos podemos parar con más comodidad. Vamos. Aquí están recogiendo la basura. Si nos paramos en el mercadito este.
Sí, o sea, yo creo que esta área es como mejor.
Parar aquí en el mercadito.
Estamos en el punto 5, no, estamos en el punto 5, finalmente no se va a publicar.
So what you see in the back is Barrio La Palomera, the first barrio that we visited, adjacent to the town of Baruta, okay? Then behind the green zone is actually Barrio Los Picapiedras, the Flintstones, Barrio Hoyo de Agua, Montepino, and Monterrey, the next sectors that we're gonna visit. I don't know if there are any questions. I don't know if I can hear anyone or if I could get a sign or an indication about the questions. Están contestando. Okay.
Yes.
All, okay,
Yes, we
Silvia.
are answering all the questions.
Okay, good. So we don't have to answer. That's better.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
Okay.
And there are many questions.
Okay. Okay. So we'll be taking a break, Silvia, okay? Because we're
Yes.
exhausted.
And then we're going to the second segment.
So we're going to the second segment as soon as you tell us, okay?
The yellow one.
I don't know why I'm here. We are doing a break. Um,
Yes, Sylvia, we are during the break. You can answer questions or go and have a water or coffee as you want. I think David left. So you want to leave for a while, it's fine. It's gonna be only like 10, 15 minutes.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Navi. Welcome back.
Thank you. You threw me out of the meeting. I could not connect for the last half an hour.
I don't know what happened. It wasn't me.
Listen, is everybody else listening to me now that we're in the break or not? Only you.
um,
Everybody is
Hello?
listening.
I think everyone is here now. Hi, Navi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
¿Estás ahí?
Can you hear us? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so we're heading to the area of the Flintstones, okay? Los Picapiedra.
Wait. We have to please mute the Zoom for everybody. It is total chaos. Please mute the Zoom.
So we'll begin to go up and we'll make a right, as you see in the map, where the truck is actually getting off right now. This is an important trash point for Barrio Ojo de Agua, and we're entering Los Picapiedra. It's called like this, as you see in the photo. It's an important extraction point for stones, for natural stones. It's been part of the economic activity of the neighborhood for many, many years. Topographically, it is actually a place for the extraction of stone. That's why the topographic configuration around the neighborhood, okay? So this is actually point number 6 in the map, is the yellow area in the map. The Flintstones, Los Picapiedra. It is actually one of the most recent barrios in the area. It actually happens during the last 20 years, pretty much. In fact, most of the structures are quite new, and they don't reach the density in terms of height as you have it in La Palomera, and the level of consolidation of the infrastructure. Here to the right, you have the valley of Baruta and La Trinidad. Okay, we'll make a stop later on, I think. Or here. No, later. I think it's higher. Yes, más adelante. Aquí yo creo que está bien. This is a good spot. Okay, we're gonna get off. So we're gonna make a stop, which is indicated in the map number 6. So, okay, so basically the main road is where the gas station, PDV, is. This is actually the industrial zone of the curve that we went through before going to Ojo de Agua, which has got the creek or the ravine where the bamboos are. It's mostly a water course behind that, which is actually very important, okay? Basically, all this is the Flintstones, Los Picapiedra, which is actually has the slope in the back. Barrio Ojo de Agua is behind that. Montepino are the towers, the yellow towers on the top, okay? And the social housing project is actually on the flat area, the plateau of the topography. So this is the condition of the infrastructure here. It's not that stable yet. As I told you before, this is quite a new area. Still you find sort of a rural condition, density is not that high. There is actually green spaces in between the houses. Infrastructure is always an issue in places like this. They do have electricity. They should have water as well. Maybe in cases like this, there's no clear sewage yet. And this edge right here could be sort of a pedestrian promenade to go up because there's no sidewalks here, as you see. And you have some plantations here, banana, also corn, and some other natural species that actually grow in these areas very easily. So we're gonna continue, okay? So we're basically going in a loop, which is the only way to access this area. As you see, most of the houses have some economic activity, could be a car shop, some kind of commercial space. Más adelante o aquí. Más adelante mejor. Si quieren por aquí, ¿no? Ok, yo les espero. Ok. Quédate. Ok.
¿Sí?
Sí.
This is another view from Los Picapiedras. And as you can see, back there, there is the Avila Mountain again. That is the north of the Caracas city. You can see also down there, the Piedra Azul formal settlement. That is the light blue zone, right? We were, well, let's minutes.
Yo quería saber, como creo que están tomando fotos y eso.
Es para la Universidad Simón Bolívar, para los estudiantes de arquitectura.
Okay.
¿Qué pasa? Le dije que haga la universidad. No hubo ningún comentario.
Vamos a Centro Social Monterrey.
So we're leaving from Los Picapiedra, the Flintstones, in order to go to point number 7, which is Monterrey, the next community. The orange one, exactly. We have to go slowly here. Si quieres muestra el frutero. So we're going back to the main road, the red line on the map. We're heading to point number 7, which is Monterrey. okay? As you see, the main road has water channels to the right and to the left because of the topography conditions and the amount of water these areas could get during the rainy season, since it actually becomes the collector of all the water drainage, as you see in the right. Okay. And these houses are actually connecting the top part of Barrio Ojo de Agua with the bottom, with the area where the sport facility was. So those are the green hills behind at the back, at the end of Barrio Ojo de Agua that we saw before. The structure that you'll see in the back in the construction, it was actually the same structure we saw before from Barrio Ojo de Agua, which is the one that's got 12 stories high, 4 or 5 to the top right now, and then probably 8 more stories down to the bottom of the barrio. So the main road is not pedestrian at all, even though it has bus stops where people can actually take the buses. You have some commercial activity, shops, car shops, steel workers. These houses actually will link with Los Picapiedras, the Flintstones barrio behind that. So it becomes less dense right now. It's more green space, except for commercial or industrial activity. So this is an important intersection where you could go actually to Monterrey. We're gonna go left here, as you see in your map, going to the east to point 7. Which is the orange community that we have in the map. Nos regresamos, sí, nos paramos al regreso. So Monterrey is basically growing along this perpendicular road from the main road, but it actually connects to Barrio Ojo de Agua also. This is the most important commercial street in the area, and it actually connects to another formal sector close to La Trinidad, the satellite city. To the right, you'll find a school, Fe y Alegría School. We'll see it in the way back. Here, at least, you have some sidewalks, and the infrastructure is in better conditions. It's mostly all services, electricity, sewage, and water. Most of these houses also have property titles, so they are formal in that sense. So they do pay taxes, municipal taxes, so they could actually sell or rent their properties, and the businesses are quite legal in general. Gas, as you see, is a problem right now in Venezuela. Domestic gas. You'll see people are actually gathering in order to wait for the supplier of gas. Otherwise, these people, the only choice they have is to cut a tree and basically make a fire in their homes, which is risky, but it's happening in Venezuela again after so many years of modern infrastructure. You have parking lots to the right, which are important here, because most of these houses will not have a garage, but they will have a car. So basically, you have this sort of public-private lots for parking, where people will leave the house at night. And basically here, as you see to the left, you'll have the way down, which is only pedestrian, to Ojo de Agua, and the agricultural lots in the back, where people will grow probably corn and some other species that are mostly used for domestic purposes. So it's not commercial. La vuelta, no íbamos a llegar más adelante. ¿Aquí o más? En la Y. The mountain in the back is the tallest point in the area. So la damos aquí. Okay. And we're gonna go back to point 7 again. Okay. Vamos a acelerar porque me da miedo que llueva, ¿viste? Prefiero que nos adelantemos a que nos retrasemos. So, so you can make notes of those green areas in your maps because they may not be seen on Google Earth Maps because they're quite recent. So in the back, you will see the school structure, Fe y Alegría. It's sort of a religious congregation that basically handles education in most popular communities in Venezuela. And it actually has schools in most of the barrios in Caracas and everywhere. They're actually public in general. Basically, they will not pay that much money, but they will somehow support and services as well. Yes, like health facilities, education, extracurricular activities as well. And in the back, you'll find a housing project somehow promoted by the community, but financed by the central government. It's a small housing project that was actually promoted by the community structure of Monterrey in order to provide housing solutions to families in the area that will not have houses. We're leaving point number 7 to go to point number 8. Point number 8 will be La Limonera, which is the name of the yellow sector that is a social housing project developed by the government in 2012 after a major crisis in the city when we had a strong event during the rainy season in November that affected many, many communities in Caracas and where a large amount of population were actually left without houses. They were actually established in shelters in many places of the city, and it became a good reason for the government in order to take over private land to promote a major housing project that was considered one of the most important success of the last period of Hugo Chavez government in 2012. So of the geological conditions of the site that could not house the dense transportation as well. Okay, we're going to have some trouble with the internet right now because of the geographical conditions of this site. Silvia, please, in case we do not connect anymore, you have a video of this area that could be shown in order to understand the urban condition of this area. As I said before, the infrastructure is quite large for the number of units because the density was supposed to be much higher with the original private project that was supposed to be implemented here in the 80s, okay? So basically, as you see, we have a school to the left that was developed by the central government. The housing buildings are basically 4 to 5 stories high. They are not that dense. Most of the apartments were given to families that were supposedly affected because of the tragedy in 2010 or 11. But in some cases, these units were given to people that will be working for the public sector and they may have a house already. So there was no clear way to understand the assignment process of those units. Sylvia could actually talk about this later on since she has done a research about this
Sorry, we don't have the video.
So I apologize for the interruptions. So as you see here, there is a lot of inland vacant land that could, in the sense that there's already some construction going on to the right scale, and the typology
I think this is where they are right now. They just lost connection by, wait. They filmed this video for you guys yesterday, so you can have an idea how is the route. And now I think they're back. Just a sec. And now I think they're back. And now I think they're back. Just a sec. Just a sec. ¿Pasar ahí? Franco. I think they're back. And now I think they're back. And now I think they're back. Just a sec. ¿Pasar ahí? Just a sec. ¿Pasar ahí?
So we're going up. I'm sorry, we didn't have connection on the social housing area, but we're doing videos of it, so you'll have them later on. You can go through So we're going up. I'm sorry, we didn't have. So we're going up. I'm sorry, we didn't have. puedes bajar un minuto el teléfono. Bueno.
Estamos llegando al punto 9.
¿Se cayó? So this is Urbanización Placer, point 9, middle upper class neighborhood, single family homes. We're gonna stop quickly to get an aerial view of the whole area of the site. Okay, Baruta, one to the right is actually Monterrey and and this is the ravine, the creek. They have a lot 200, 300 of the site. And this is at with a southerly the line on the national park that defines the limit of the somehow. So the vegetation is different, it varies, from it is different, the weather is different. Gone? No. So we're going back to point number 9. So Urbanización El Placer out. As it's been said before. Okay, so we're going through the exit of Urbanización El Placer. As I said before, there tend to be gateway communities because of safety issues and considerations. So right now, we'll begin to go down to the University Valley, which is Valle de Sartenejas. So we're already on the red line of the main road. So this is mostly suburban development. There's only public transportation for official buses of the university. Point 10 is actually the next stop, Universidad Simón Bolívar, 200 meters. So this is a first view of the campus, which is a valley in itself. It used to be agricultural property for sugar plantations and coffee as well. It's been closed for 6 months already. So it's not in good conditions. The front part is a garden that is being used as a public space for the city. ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo le va? Profesor Franco Micucci de Arquitectura. Hay una autorización de la profesora Mariela Sato. La tiene aquí. La tengo aquí. Si la quiere en el correo, ya se la doy. Ella le copió a seguridad. Herrera. ¿Tú cómo te va, amigo? Ya.
Andrea, you can reproduce the video of the Placer. Now we are in the Simón Bolívar University and we have some trouble to enter here, but you can reproduce the video and they can see the view there.
Okay, we'll share now the video of the El Placer urbanization so you can get an idea how it is from inside.
Andreas, you're here.
Volvieron.
Okay, we are back. We're entering Universidad Simón Bolívar. This is actually the main road of access. As we said before, this used to be agricultural land. Now it is a beautiful park. It's not in good conditions because, as I said before, it's been closed for 6 months and there's no big maintenance in the area. It used to be a public space open to the people of the Baruta Municipality. To the left, you'll find the main house of the property, which is now the president's house of the university. It is preserved sort of a cultural facility, museum, since the university has an important art collection of colonial art, in fact. We're on the spot identifying with O as oak or as orange. This is the main library. And this actually to the left is the area of the institutional facilities, most of the schools, and basically to the right, the garden. Okay, to the back, see the other side of Urbanización El Placer, the residential neighborhood, the formal neighborhood of single-family houses that does not have contact or access to the campus directly. They have to go across, but there is a certain limit or boundary between the university and the neighborhood in the back. It's actually very painful for us to see the campus this way. So, yo tengo que cruzar aquí o en la otra. La otra. So the university was actually built during the 1970s, at the beginning of the 70s. So most of these structures are already 50 years old. It's actually a technological university. Most of the programs are actually engineers, except for architecture and some other careers and programs. So most of the campus is actually surrounded by green forests of pine trees that were actually planted as part of the development plan for the university and the campus. Yo tengo que cruzar a la derecha. Sí. These are some greeneries facilities from the university where you can actually find groceries. Actually, you could buy vegetables here. They are produced by people that work actually at the university. Está cerrado ahí. Okay, bueno. We're actually on point identified with number 10 on the map. As you see, the climate actually changed. It's more cloudy, it's cooler. Entonces sigo, me devuelvo, ¿no? No podemos hacer nada. Okay. So most of these buildings are actually laboratories. So I'm going to go around and then we go, right? Pero no vamos a llegar a arquitectura. No, en arquitectura la señal empeora y la señal empeora. So we're going on a loop that you have in the map that goes around all the buildings that identify with color green, I think, on the map. so which is all part of the campus that will have a population of almost 12,000 people, including students, faculties, employees, workers. It is actually decreasing because of the important academic, economic, social, cultural crisis of the country. So you can find actually on our website information about the schools, the programs, the departments. This actually included as a link on the document you received yesterday in case you want to have more information about our university. I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but there is a chance we could get some rain up here and we may lose connectivity. So we still have 2 more stops in our tour. Okay, we're gonna go to the next stop, which is identify letter P as people. Yo tengo que buscar un sello en la universidad, no sé si más bien regresarme. Entonces hacemos el break, avisamos. So we're gonna take like a 10 minutes break. So Silvia, Andrea, and David could actually answer questions if you have some. If you could actually show the house here. And we're gonna take a break to do some business here in our school quickly. So we'll reconnect in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, David. Yes, we can hear you very
Can
well.
everybody hear me in the YouTube now? Or only the faculty? Can everybody hear me in the YouTube?
Remember, there is a small delay, so they might answer in a while.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hi, David. Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Everybody hear me in the YouTube now? Or only the faculty? Can anybody hear me in the YouTube?
Everybody hears you, David. It's
Yes.
working fine.
Remember, there is a small delay.
I have such a back sound that makes it very difficult. I hear myself 7 times. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a very thorough and very informative trip, and there are a zillion questions of the students that we will have to develop in other sessions with pleasure, especially for those that are working in Caracas. Many of the last questions have to do with the economic and political crisis in Venezuela that has led to the diaspora, to 6 million Venezuelans leaving in a country of only 37, 38 million. That's a lot of the population. And that explains a lot of the vacancies in the formal and in the formal area. And also, it explains the disintegration or the meltdown of the institutions that operated the services, the infrastructure, the electricity, the water, the general maintenance of the country. And something very important, part of this economic crisis and political crisis is that many educated professionals and technicians in all fields, including the medical sector, have left the country. So the country is strained. If you have a problem, let's say in the water supply or in the electricity supply, and it has to be fixed, you don't have the spare parts because nothing is made in the country anymore. It's very expensive to import them, and even if you can bring the parts, you don't have the technicians that can repair it. To give you an idea, Venezuela has the third hydroelectrical dam in the world. The first one is in China, the second one is in Brazil, the third one is in Venezuela with a small population. And it used to provide electricity for 80% of the country, exporting to Colombia and to Trinidad and to other places and to Brazil. This huge power plant is working in a minimum capacity. So it is part of the economic, institutional, professional, technical crisis that affects all levels of the country. It is not the moment to explain how we came to this, but many people, I know that Vincenzo is looking after that, but we can have a nice conversation explaining, because this is very important to understand the political, economical moment in which you're planning for these towns, for these settlements in Baruta, knowing that in the near future we expect that the situation will change. So it makes planning and design very tricky. How you plan for a certain condition that is not what it was 15 years ago, and it probably will not be what it will be 10 years ago. It may be even worse, we don't know. But this is the questions and the elasticity that the planning and design requires.
Thank you, David. So we're now exiting the campus and we're gonna go to point number, letter P as people, okay? Which is the technological park, which is outside the campus, the main campus, but it's part of a university as well. So research and to integrate the university to society as a concept. So we have some greenery spaces, which is a major business here, you know, in places where you can actually buy flowers or, you know, plants, which are ornament on private houses or buildings. This is somehow the edge of the university with the pine trees and eucalyptus trees that were actually planted in order to stabilize the terrain after the important land movements. So it's basically undeveloped land. and it is part of the limit of the city with the protected zone, which is a green belt the city has as a limit for urban development. So you'll basically see that later on from the highway. Now we're gonna make a right on stop identified with a P, I think, which is the entrance with Instituto Internacional de Estudios Avanzados, which is Technopolis, a technological park. Okay. So basically find facilities in which companies or entrepreneurs are actually beginning the businesses in the 1970s and 80s. You find a point which is the main antenna for communications as well.
We lost Franco, right?
Yes.
We lost connection. I'm sorry. We apologize, but given the geographical conditions of the site, we lost connections. But basically, we were talking about the green belt, David. I don't know if you want to explain that. I think there is a video that will be shown by Silvia or Andrea from the site to Hoyo de La Puerta, and we'll catch you at Hoyo de La Puerta, okay? So you can explain more or less what the conditions of the protected zone are in Caracas, okay? Thank you. Si quieres, desconéctate y volvemos a Hoyo de La Puerta. ¿Estamos conectados? Ok. So this is actually a route that people use to enter Caracas from the main highway that comes from the central states of the country and the west section. So Caracas is actually located in this geographical center of the country, up to the north, obviously. So people actually enter from the main highway to the eastern section of the city through this road. So it could get a lot of traffic. Enter Caracas from the main highway that comes from the central states of the country and the west section.
So Caracas is actually located in this geographical center of the country, up to the north, obviously. So people actually enter from the main highway to the eastern section of the city through this road. So it could get a lot of traffic. Enter Caracas on the main highway that comes from the central states of the country and the west section. So Caracas is actually located in this geographical center of the country, up to the north, obviously. So people actually enter from the main highway to the eastern section of the city through this road. So it could get a lot of traffic. Enter Caracas on the main highway that comes from the central states of the country and the west.
Hoyo de La Puerta, nos conectamos.
Hi. Can I say something, Franco? Franco, can you hear me?
We lost them, but you can speak, David.
Okay, while we get Franco back, I found this book, and probably Natalia couldn't find it. We're going to try to find the text so we can send it by internet. It was published in Colombia, and it's called in the University of the Andes of Colombia and the Universidad Metropolitana, a place where I also gave classes with Professor Franco. And it's called The City Region, the Middle Landscape. And it was based on a studio that we held between Colombia and Venezuela. And I would like to somehow get you the articles that were written here, especially by Professor Peter Rowe, who was for many years the dean at the GSD at Harvard University. And he compares the morphology, the character, the logic of Bogota and the Sabana. He compares it to Caracas and its region. They're two very different systems. And I have an article here that explains the metropolitan region of Caracas. Whereas in Bogota, the main city is much bigger and it grows into La Sabana. There is about 9 million people in Bogota and now 2 million people in La Sabana. And eventually the city would grow into the Sabana in a continuous, because the land is flat, relatively flat in La Sabana. In Caracas, as you see, the topography is very complicated. And this position that Franco was showing us is the edge of the Caracas Valley, where the terrain reaches 1,400 meters high, and then it starts dropping to 400 meters, 300 meters, all the way down to the plains of the Orinoco River. So from there, it's downhill all the way to Colombia and out west to the Orinoco, to the Atlantic. So in the 1970s, there was a big movement to declare national parks and protected areas in Venezuela. And this green belt was created just at the edge of this road that Franco was showing us to keep the city from growing. Why? One, because the land is very steep and unstable and very difficult to urbanize. Two, because they're environmental areas, they're very interesting forests. But three, that is extremely important, and Professor Grauer mentioned this once in the last class, is that with 3.5 million people in Caracas and another million people that used to come in every day from other areas, from other cities, the water in Caracas Valley is not sufficient for this population. And the valley is at 900 meters. These mountains where Simon Bolivar is goes up to 1,400 meters. So what do they have? Where do they get the water? They get the water from the valleys that are located at 300, 400 meters and some 40 kilometers away. The water comes not from the highlands like in Bogota. The water comes from the lowlands and is pumped up to Caracas, which makes a very expensive and vulnerable city. So one of the main reasons of this green belt that they were showing us was to protect the watershed in the lowlands to be able to pump it up to Caracas. So that is the main reason for the green belt. It's about 40 miles wide, and that's just at the edge of the road that Franco is showing us now.
Hoyo de La Puerta, David, but I mean, we ended.
Franco, I think we lost you, and we really want to thank the Simon Bolivar team for this amazing presentation, for so much information. The only thing that I wanted to add with this story of the green belt is that this explains why the density in Caracas is so high in the formal city that we did not see here in the main valley, and even the density is so high in the informal settlements, because the city is surrounded by the huge mountain in the north, the national park, and the green belt in the south. And what do you do in all the cities like London, for instance, that have established a green belt? Well, that instead of continuous growth, the growth of the metropolitan city leapfrogs. That is, their cities located at 40 kilometers, 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers, like Valencia, where there are another 3 million people. So instead of having the 7 million, 8 million people of Bogota concentrated in one area, or the 5 million in the greater metropolitan area of Guadalajara concentrated, in Venezuela, it is a system of towns and cities that are disconnected by protected areas, topography, agricultural land, national parks, but it still is an extended territorial system. It's a very different organization. But that explains why the densities of Caracas are so high. Franco, you want to take over? Can you?
Yes, we have to say goodbye, David, because our connection is really bad. I think we're pretty much done for today, David. So please, thank you for all the help with the questions and comments, okay? No matter.
David, tienes el micrófono silenciado.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my microphone off. First of all, I would like to thank very much all the Simon Bolivar group for this big effort. I will ask you for a favor. While you were explaining, you identified certain areas that would probably be occupied by informal settlements if nothing is done. Sometimes there were forested areas that we know that the forests are cut down which increases erosion. Sometimes it was that lot of agricultural land that is in public hands. If you can help us to identify these areas of potential growth in the map, we can have an idea of the location and of their scale. Always keeping in mind what Sylvia has told us, that even the existing neighborhoods are in high-risk location because of the slope, because of the geology, and because the risk of flooding and quakes. So we know that in this case, compared to Guadalajara or compared to Colombia, the expansion areas are very limited, and they have to be carefully decided where they could go and how they could go. So I thank you very much, and I'm sure that there'll be many questions ahead after this presentation. And thank you so much for making this possible in a country where electronic transmissions are not easy, where the electricity sometimes goes, and compared to the amazing drone flight that we saw yesterday in Guadalajara, just for you guys to understand how countries are different, due to the highly militarized authoritarian regime in Venezuela at the time, it is forbidden to have private drones. Universities, technicians cannot fly drones. So that just gives you another layer of complexity on how this ground information was so important. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. By the way, I have been confirmed by Professor Diego Bermudez. If you read the press in China, in Venezuela, in CNN, yesterday there were major riots and violence in many cities of Colombia. Very similar to what we saw in the United States about a month and a half ago, mainly derived from police brutality and repression. And as we saw in the United States, many times these reasons for protest, which are clearly understood why people are frustrated and are angry at things that are not correct, after the people go out and manifest and protest, many times there are groups that infiltrate of violent people and create chaos. So this we saw also in the United States. And this is what's happening and happened last night in many Colombian cities, including Bogota. It's a very difficult political situation in Colombia as we speak. However, Professor Bermudez says that he already has a group of people, of community leaders, and they're not suspending the field trip tomorrow. We're going ahead. So this is part of this amazing multicultural, multi-country pedagogical initiative. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Silvia. And thank you to everyone.
Gracias.
See you tomorrow. Ciao.
Gracias. Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana.
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Good night, China.